Hi, and welcome to Week 12 of the I Formation. I'm Jeff Gibbons.
And I'm John Moist.
What a week, buddy. When they said it couldn't be done, we went against the grain. We had a combined week this week of 21-9 for 70%. And I managed to get where I needed to be. I finally caught Mr. Eisenberg this week, so I'm feeling pretty good about where I am with the picks. Both of us doing very, very well. And it's what we do. Last week, a couple of surprises. Who knew that the Lions would lose to the Steelers, and the Raiders edging out the Texans, and of course, I went out on a limb on those Kansas City Chiefs, didn't I? And good game, less than 14
Closer
points.
than I thought.
Yeah, well, but you know what? What really I think set the tone for that was at the very end, the second half. There was 3 stops, almost 3 and outs for that KC defense. Couldn't generate any offense off this defense. So, you know what? You're not going to beat the Denver Broncos. Interesting stat, though. Denver Broncos score the least number of points that they've scored all year, and the Kansas City Chiefs gave up the most points that they've given up all year. So that was kind of a neat stat. And I said last week, if they scored 21 points, they would have been in it. It would have been enough, but it would have been a little bit closer. And it was 10 points, so good game.
I think I saw a statistic there with Manning. Teams that score less than 21 points against Manning in his entire career are 5-105 now, I believe.
That's a pretty good stat.
Yeah.
Nice.
So.
But you know what? Nothing could be bigger than the scene that was set last night. You know, the Monday night game with the New England Patriots playing in Carolina, and that was right down to the wire, shall we say? You know, a lot of kind of controversy in how the game ended. We saw Luke Kuechly giving that bear hug to Gronkowski in the end zone.
That's it.
And the
ball wasn't catchable, like you said.
Well, here's the thing. I was doing a little bit of reading about that this week. You know, I know that it has spawned some new items. Like the first thing that's hit the market already is the Tom Brady Diva doll. If you pull on the string, it says, and I quote, "That was fucking brutal." Okay, thought that was pretty impressive. Changed his tune in the press conference, though. I gotta say, give the guy credit. He comes out. They want to hit him about you know, the pass to Gronk and all this, you know, pass interference, flags picked up, and all he says is, you know what? We had several 3rd and 1s that we didn't convert tonight. We didn't play well enough to win, and I thought that was a lot of class. He stepped up, and you know, quite different. Yeah, quite different from his reaction as he's going down the tunnel speaking to Lady, the referee. But that's it. Carolina wins the game. We both picked that. Feeling pretty good about that pick. Feeling the love. And actually some very, very special kinds of things come out of that. Because I did look at the rule. And, you know, like this has been all over the internet this week, or since last night. The actual rule says that actions that constitute defensive pass interference include the following. But then there's also a section that says actions that do not constitute pass interference include but are not limited to. And Section C in this rule, in Section 5, says contact that would normally be considered pass interference, but the pass is clearly uncatchable by the involved players. Now, the snag with this is that because of, you know, they got together and deemed it was uncatchable. But nowhere in the rule book or in any of the players, you know, in the profiles, does it say what uncatchable is. So it becomes very much a, you know, a decision, a judgment call. But you know what? I'm sorry, Mr. Brady, but you know what? Gronkowski's not going to catch the ball if somebody has stepped in front of him and caught the ball 5 yards in front of him. Sorry, man. I don't care how hard the ball's thrown. That ball's uncatchable because somebody has intercepted the ball. So you know what? I'm out there. I'm picking that flag up too. I think it was the right call. And like he said, you know what? It's too bad it came down to that. But at the end of the day, there were a lot of other plays they didn't capitalize on.
And whether you agree with that or disagree with that, the bottom line is that over the course of an entire NFL season, there's going to be some calls go your way, and there's going to be some calls that don't go your way. And I think New England over the years has had more than a few go their way.
I think we can feel very lucky that this wasn't played in Foxborough. I'm pretty sure that flag probably gets dropped, and several others. But anyway, we can rely on the good old-fashioned rule book to make sure that everything is the way it is. Very ideological. It's a good read. Anyway, folks, something very, very special has happened for our picks this week. Stick around. We're going to talk about this week's games and what that special thing is.
Hi, welcome back to the I Formation. Now we're going to make our picks for week number 12, starting with
New Orleans in Atlanta.
And we agree on all picks this week for the first time in 2 seasons.
Yeah, let's hope that that's a good sign.
Yeah.
We differed by 1 last year, and I went perfect, and you were out by 1. So, and that was a 1-point game. So hopefully this trend continues. I don't see this any other way. Atlanta, line on this, you're given 7.5 points. I think New Orleans handles them. It doesn't matter where they play.
Atlanta has got just too many injury problems. I know they're playing in the Dome where Matt Ryan is. Well, he hasn't been unbeatable there this year. It's just New Orleans got too much.
That's right.
And New Orleans is going to win this one by fair margin, I think.
The second game here is one that we're picking against the pros, and it's Carolina going into Miami after last night beating the Patriots, and going into to play the Dolphins. Right now, we both sort of agreed on this. We put our heads together because this one was a really close game and matchup for us. A couple of things that have figured in this, John. One thing certainly.
Charles Johnson is out, and that's huge. He is the leader of the front of that defense.
And that may be enough. You know what? I'm really struggling with how many of these professionals that are out there that are giving too much credit to this New England Patriots team. And I've been saying this all year. They're 7-3 now, but let me tell you, people are getting on the case of the Kansas City Chiefs being a week 9-1. I'm sorry. The Patriots are week 7-3, and this
I don't think the Chiefs are a week 9-1. I really don't.
No, I don't think you do, but there are people out there that are saying that, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens this week. I mean, there's a couple of big games out there, but I think that this team, well, like I say, if Denver's able to light them up this week and beat them in Foxborough and give them their first loss at home this week. The tides have changed, especially we're picking Miami now to beat Carolina at home. Miami's been tough all year at home, and I think that's going to figure in their push. Right now, they're at 5-5. The Jets are at 5-5, and incredibly in a wild card position right now in the AFC East. That's the Jets, by virtue of winning more games in their division. So that can change as well. They've got a couple of tough ones. Like I say, Carolina's not going to be a pushover, but I think this Miami team is stronger than they've been given credit, and they're healthy.
They're healthy. That's the big reason for me here, is that the Miami Dolphins are finally healthy. And, of course, Carolina got beat up in that game, especially with the loss of Charles Johnson. That's going to be huge. Cam Newton's, well, he can scramble, but he's going to have to in this game for sure.
He's got his hands full there.
And Carolina's in tough against Miami. Miami's in a must-win situation. And I think I'd say Miami in a very close game.
You got it.
Field goal, perhaps.
Absolutely. Yeah. Maybe right at the buzzer. Okay, next we got Minnesota in to play Green Bay in Lambeau Field.
I think this is close because Aaron Rodgers is not in. And it's a classic rivalry, of course, and divisional, which makes it a bit closer. And I see Green Bay, however, winning it by a score. What do you think?
Tolzien, I think, is Tolzien.
Yeah.
Visine, whatever it's called. It's very cherry-esque. Tolkien, that's right. Bilbo. I think he's getting his feet. I mean, he's thrown a few touchdown passes, and I really, and I'm going to get another smack here, but I mean, even Pete Briscoe said today, and I tended to agree with him, that Minnesota has no defense. Sorry. I think that Green Bay beats them at home. It's going to be close because of the Aaron Rodgers factor, but I think Tolzien leads them to victory.
I still think that they have a decent pass rush, and I think they can keep this one close.
Okay.
I'm picking the Packers, though.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Next we've got Jacksonville going into Houston.
And once again, I mean, we talked about Houston last week and thought for sure they were going to get a big win, but this time it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. And
Houston's at home. Don't see this any other way.
No.
The line on this right now is 10.5 points.
10.5?
Yeah.
I'm not sure Houston can win by 10.5 points.
You only got to win by 1, buddy.
Yeah, we're just picking them straight up anyway, so we'll go with Houston.
I think so. All right. Next, we got the Jets. This is another classic. The Jets going into Baltimore to play the Ravens. And there's a Jekyll and Hyde team all year, if you've ever seen one, in the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, Jekyll and Hyde. You talk about Jekyll and Hyde. How about the Jets? They've alternated wins and losses since week 1.
Maybe that was a better way of
They have now lost 2 in a row or won 2 in a row.
And
Baltimore the same way, yeah.
But they won some big games.
Mm-hmm.
They beat the Saints.
Yeah.
Beat the Patriots.
They did.
You know, so Baltimore, a little bit of a funk right now too. Certainly some troubles. Ray Rice.
They did get their running game going last week.
Well, hopefully that continues.
Yeah.
But they're in tough against that Jets run defense.
Best run defense in the game right now.
Another close game. There's going to be several of these this week. But we're both looking at Baltimore to win at home here.
I think Baltimore is at home. Once again, must-win situation. See Flacco coming up with a decent game here for a change. He hasn't done much with it this year. And
because he signed a big fat contract.
once again, we're thinking a field goal game here. You know.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
Next we got San Diego going into Arrowhead to play the Kansas City Chiefs, who are licking their wounds.
Divisional game, but I don't see it any other way. I really think Kansas City at home, very hard to beat. And undefeated there this year.
And San Diego had trouble in Miami last week, generating. Yeah, I don't see it either. I don't think they beat the Chiefs. You're right. I think it's less than a touchdown, though.
I agree.
Okay, next we've got Tampa Bay in Detroit to play the Lions. And Tampa Bay is not a team that's been getting much respect. They did manage to beat the Dolphins.
I really think they're going to keep this one close, too.
But you know, they've wore out a couple of running backs in James and Martin this year. So, you know.
In comes Rainey.
In comes Rainey. But I don't know. Quarterback trouble and everything there. Like, it's just been one hodgepodge after another. The team is in a rebuild, and right now, Detroit, right in the thick of things over there. So I just think, like I said, I think it's a touchdown at least here.
Yeah, I agree.
I think you know they're going to be putting Revis out there on Calvin Johnson, but I mean there's a lot of other things.
It's not a blowout. It's not a blowout, but
it's at least a touchdown.
Score. I'd say a touchdown. I'll give him a touchdown.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Next we got Pittsburgh going into Cleveland, the dog pound to play the Browns, and this is another tough game, another interdividual match.
Definitely, the Browns have. I think they're in the top 10 in both rush and pass defense. The Browns are. So yeah, definitely a hard game here. Roethlisberger had a big game last week. He's coming back here against a pretty good pass defense, and I see Pittsburgh going to the ground more in this game. A little bit of ground and pound, maybe come out another close divisional matchup.
Cleveland's favored by a couple of points now, but when you look at Roethlisberger, he has just really got the job done over the last couple of weeks. He's really played, like he's thrown the ball very well. You know, and this team has really made something of nothing. I mean, they've been battling injuries all year. So this is a team that's, you know, perennial favorites. I just give them the edge, even in Cleveland. I think that they've got enough there to
I agree.
You know, kick one through the uprights at the horn. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Very close.
Okay. Next, we got the Chicago Bears in St. Louis to play the Rams. This is a really, really close game on the line right now. Yeah. This is the closest, actually, of all the matchups.
Yeah, I can
half
say
a
that.
point.
Yeah.
And St. Louis, perennially tough at home. Defensively, playing very well.
Not to mention the last game they played, they lit up. Was it Indy? Lit them up. So playing with a lot of confidence right now. Going up against a Bears team, though, that is in desperation mode. Just had a big win against the Ravens in overtime. And I think overall, Jeff, I think what we'll say here is that Chicago overall has a better team here.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I talked last week about the defense by committee, and I think that that's what's happened. I mean, with the injuries to people like Tillman, they've had to reinvent themselves defensively, and they've still been able to hold that secondary very well and reduce those plays. Not the turnover beast that they were last year, but still well up in the list. And I think you're right. I think close games. These are all close games. I would say this is a couple of points maybe. Maybe a safety.
I look for a big game from Josh McCown this one.
Absolutely.
Where's Cutler back?
When we're going to film here, I'm not even sure.
Oh.
I know it's up in the air, but he's been doing okay for himself, so maybe
Either way,
they'll make sure on Cutler. Next, we've got the Indianapolis Colts in Arizona, and I'm surprised that we both agreed on this one as well. Indianapolis just got their asses handed to them, but it's a team that's been very resilient all year, and there are a lot of offensive threats. And plus, we've got Mathis defensively, who's having a great year, leading the league in sacks. Yeah. So they've got everything going on. But Arizona, I don't know what's happened there. But it seems like they clicked on all cylinders. Yeah. They've got offense. Defensively at home, they've always been tough to play. They've been over the last couple of years. They've been extremely tough, like St. Louis or Seattle tough. But I'm giving them the edge here. I'd say this again. While it's not a blowout, I think this is going to be maybe a 6-point game.
I agree. I think that Arizona has a great run defense. They can shut down Indy on the ground, and then Indy without Reggie Wayne now is a big difference. And their main receiver will be T.Y. Hilton. Now he's going to be shadowed by Patrick Peterson, and that's going to make a big difference. I look for a big game out of Peterson, and I think that because of that, Arizona will get the win here.
Agreed. Next, we have Tennessee going into Oakland to play the Raiders, and you want to talk about a team that's been tepid all year. And Oakland, I mean, they've had trouble with quarterbacks too, with Pryor being hurt. Yeah. And McFadden, of course, plays 3 great games for him, gets hurt again. Last week they got some help on the ground with the run. Was Rashard Jennings? That's right. But the team hasn't been consistent. But at home, they're beasts.
Yeah.
And I think that we both agree. Tennessee, who's been lukewarm at best this year, Johnson, the running game hasn't been there. Yeah. I think this is close, but I think Oakland holds court at home.
I score 6 or 7 maybe.
What's that?
6 or 7 points.
Like in total? Or who knows? Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. Maybe even the under, but that's just me. That's not putting him on the spot. But Oakland wins this. Next, we've got another divisional rival. We got Dallas in New York to play the football Giants.
Oh, great game. Always is. And could go either way.
Well, if he'd said it 2 or 3 weeks ago, or even a month ago, I would have said, well,
yeah.
It's not even close. I mean, Dallas is going to blow them out. Dallas is in a funk again. They look like they were a team ready to take leadership of that division. But you know what? You can never count out this Giants team. And it's so funny. I mean, any one of those teams could have emerged. And we joked about this, 1-6, playing the parade. But you know what? They're legit contenders right now. I mean, winning a couple more of these divisional games, getting the passes done, getting some offense out of these guys. Like there's been Eli Manning, while he's still throwing the ball away, still throwing and committing turnovers, they're still generating offense. And you've talked about this. You gave me an interesting stat this week. You were looking at games and the number of turnovers versus victories. And what are we looking at? 85, 90%?
Yeah.
So if 95, we'll say 85% of the time, just to be on the moderate side. 85% of the time, the team that creates or that has the most turnovers, I should say, against them, loses that game. And he's found ways in the last couple of weeks to win games. He's still turning the ball over, but he's throwing, getting deep to his receivers and creating enough offense. Hakeem Nicks sort of came to life a little bit last week.
And I think the big reason for me here is Dallas has a good running game. They have a good run defense. They have a good passing offense. We're almost having a good year. What Dallas does not have is a good pass defense. 31st ranked in the league. And they're up against Eli Manning and a hungry Giants team who've been playing better every week.
And of course, enter Andre Brown on the ground, who has stretched the field a little bit too now and given that play action.
Very strong runner.
So, and I've been sort of watching that with bated breath because I kept him in my fantasy pool and managed to hold on to him even though when times were lean, and he's starting to pay dividends now. But look for the Giants to win that. Again, close game because it's divisional. Yeah. Maybe a field goal. Yeah. Next we've got Denver pitching in Foxborough to play the wounded New England Patriots.
Bradyites.
The Bradyites. Yeah, I'm loving that, eh? But it's Denver. And Denver, while the Patriots have not lost at home this year, I don't see this any other way. I see Peyton Manning beating this team. And I'm telling you, I'm going on the record as saying this New England Patriots team is not as strong as all these pundits are saying. They've had their share of adversity this year. I mean, with Hernandez and Gronkowski being hurt, Danny Amendola being out of the lineup, Wes Welker going to Denver, and his return is questionable. It's too bad. It looks like he's not going to be in this week. He's out with a concussion from last week's game.
That's right.
He's questionable for this week. I mean, it could happen, but so that's a little bit of a kick in the pants to Denver. But I mean, there's so many offensive weapons. You got Denver, you got Eric Decker, Demaryius Thomas, Julius Thomas, a tight end. I mean, and of course,
Marino, he can run the ball, he can receive. He's one of their best players this year as well.
I just don't see it. I think they spread the Patriots out and they beat them. And the line on this is less than a field goal. I'm saying that's a touchdown.
Okay.
I think that's where I am on that.
I'll say around touchdown myself.
Yeah. And it could be worse. It depends on what happens at halftime. Yeah. Because...
Hope it is.
Yeah, well, if they blitz Brady and he turns the ball over a couple of times in the first half, I'm going to say it's 14 points. But that's me. And finally, we've got the Monday Nighter. And this one was kind of weird, too. We had San Francisco going into Washington to play the Redskins. And the Redskins, much maligned this year, a team that, the little engine that couldn't, if you will. Never got off the ground. RG3 came back a little bit early. The defense didn't gel with Arakpo's return as much as I thought it was going to do, because I really thought these guys were going to win this division this year. But San Francisco has... anyway, some guy said last year that Colin Kaepernick wasn't all that in a bag of chips. I'm pretty sure I heard that somewhere. Can't remember who that was, but... He also said something about Mark Sanchez. Well, can't remember. But anyway, the same people that are defending him now are the ones that threw Alex Smith under the bus. And I keep saying this. Well, he doesn't have to do everything. I mean, look, we've got Frank Gore moving on the ground, and the read last week looked pretty dismal. People were holding them on the read option. He wasn't able to get out of the pocket. I think that Washington keeps this close, but I think there's enough offensive weapons for the 49ers. And defensively, I think they're going to shut down RG3.
I think they win this game on defense.
Yeah, well, it's not neither one.
They need to use Frank Gore a lot more than what they are, though. Frank Gore needs to get that ball a lot more, and if he gets it a lot more, then San Francisco's going to win a lot of games, because when he gets the ball, he's one of the best running backs in the NFL, if not the best. I really think that Frank Gore could be the best in the game.
Yeah, it's time to put up or shut up, Like, you're starting to look a little bit like Tim Tebow there now in the pocket, gotta tell you. This whole read option thing, it turns into a pass every single time, right? Yeah. And, people are wise to it. It's, one-trick ponies don't work in the NFL. We've seen the Wildcat offense come and go. Ronnie Brown, where are they now? Yeah. Works for a little while.
Gone are the days of Joe Montana.
Yeah. So that's the picks this week. Remarkably, we're holding out, and we're saying that we're agreeing on each and every one of these. It'll be interesting to see how that goes this week. Stick around. We're going to give you our players and our teams of the week. Welcome back. Now we're going to give you our picks for player and team of the week. So, leading off with player of the week this week, I think in that interdivisional game, Dallas and the Giants, I think Victor Cruz breaks out and has a couple of big receptions this week, and maybe a touchdown or two for Eli Manning and company for the Giants.
Good call.
Okay, who do you like?
Calvin Johnson, Detroit Lions. Not a big surprise. I mean, picking Johnson to have a big week is...
I know it's ballsy. I mean, he's going to be up there against Darrelle Revis.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Johnson against Revis. I think Johnson's going to be all over him. Look for a couple of touchdowns out of Johnson this week for sure.
Nice. Yeah. All right. Who do you like as a team this week?
I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals. I think that at home against Indy, I talked about Patrick Peterson and the absence of Reggie Wayne in this game, with T.Y. Hilton being shadowed by Peterson, and I think that's going to be a big difference. Luck's going to run into some trouble there, and with also the Arizona can stuff the ground game. I don't see Indy generating a lot of offense there, and I think Arizona can win this game.
It's a good call.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go with a bounce back team this week. I'm going to go with the Houston Texans. After that tough loss this week, they're at home licking their wounds. Got the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's going to be cat, baby. Big cat barbecue. I think they cover the spread of 10.5 points.
Okay.
So there you have it, folks. That's this week's picks. And like I said, me and him agreeing on everything kind of scared me a little bit this week, so we'll see how that all plays out. Remember, come and visit us on our webpage, and that's the I-Formation on Facebook. We've also got our Twitter account, which is _I_Formation. And you can drop us a line at theiformation@gmail.com. Let us know what you're thinking. Make sure you're dropping us a line on the webpage, or I'm sorry, on the Facebook page, or you just want to send us an email, your comments, concerns, anything you'd like to see. We're all about that. So, until next week, you got anything else?
That's it.
All right. Well, it's good night for me.
And it's good night from him. Have fun.